Insurance is a promise to pay. At Beacon, we keep our promises.
Good evening and welcome to another You Decide. I'm your host, Byron Campbell. This evening, our guest is the Honorable Peter David. He's the MP for the Tongue of St. George. And the topic we are looking at his political future. That is the political future of the Honorable Peter David. Sir, welcome to You Decide. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Byron. Always a pleasure to be here. Discussing my future. It's an interesting topic. I'm not sure where we're going with it, but willing to discuss it at any time.
It's a pleasure to have you. I think it's the first time we're having a discussion with you since you've been out of the government, since your resignation, in fact, Yes. And Peter, I want to start with, we want to understand you. I think part of it is understanding Peter David. And look, you've been called the leader of the rebels. You've been called a revolutionary. You've been called a communist. But if you look at some of the things you've said and some of the things you've repeated, and I picked this up, you've talked about in your language, you've talked about a cherished love affair with the people. You've said accepting a deep sense of social responsibility. You've said a belief that people's betterment and people's dignity are non-negotiable. And you talk a lot about your commitment to the workers of the country. But help us to understand you. Who are you? I mean, what motivates you at this time of your life, Peter?
Oh, well, what has always motivated me, Byron, I came into politics, as I've said many, many times, when I was 14, 15. I'm a child, as it were, of the 1960s and 70s. We all are, Byron, our generation. We had a deep sense of social commitment. We've always been committed to social change, to social justice, to economic development. But I think most importantly, we are really nationalistic about this country. We love this country. I mean, yourself, myself, we both lived in Canada around the same time. But the thing is that I have a deep love for this country. I believe that Grenada has a whole lot of potential. I meet Grenadians of all walks of life every day. Businessmen, businesswomen, workers, farmers, fishermen, every day. And I believe that we can do better. So, I don't think you want to pigeonhole me to any particular ideological position. The days, I think, for an ideological construct in all of this has long gone. Of course, everybody has a philosophical belief. You have things you believe in. I have things I believe in. But I think what bands us together, as I said in the same speech, we have much more in common than we have different in us. And I think that if you want to ask me what I believe in Grenada. And I believe that we can do a better job. I believe this country has a whole lot of potential. And I believe that what we need to do is look to see how we can come together to deal with it. If you look at a single theme running through my politics, since I came into the NDC in 2000, 2001, and since I went to the parliament, if you look at my parliamentary debates, you would always hear me say that we need to develop a more bipartisan, a more nationalistic approach, an approach that brings us together. Of course, we have people in different parties, you have people in different churches, you have people in different football groups, but there are things that can bring us together. So if you ask me what's the common theme running through my political career, is that we can find a way to build this Grenada without all of the tribalism that currently permeates our political discourse.
You chose the NDC as the conduit, as the means to pursue your political career, and we know what has happened. But Peter, I want you to level with us tonight. I want you, in your view, to tell us what, in your view, you've seen as a root cause for the problems within the NDC. Where did it start? I mean, we want to talk about root. We want to talk about the core. What in your view is it? If we could focus on it for a moment. Yeah.
I've always been open and honest about it, Barry. The one thing that about me, and I said this to the political leader many times, that we can have differences. We can, of course, the country requires us for its development, for us to always say what our positions are. The party requires that. When I came into the NDC, I was not a founding member of the NDC. I never claimed to be a founding member. I was asked to join the NDC. In fact, it was Jerome Joseph who asked several of us to join the NDC. And at the time, the NDC was decimated at the polls. They received no seats in the parliament at the time. I think several members of the party had abandoned it. I have resignation letters on my file from several senior members who had left it. And we decided, and of course everybody knows that some of us came into the party in around 2000, 2001. I was asked to become the national mobilizer and then the general secretary. And we rebuilt the party. We went from 0 seats to 7 seats to 11 seats. And I think that we did an excellent job of it. I am proud of my tenure as general secretary of the party. And I think we did a good job. One of the things, I have a theory about how this thing unfolded. When we came into the party, there are many people outside there now who are hollering about the NDC, who said that NDC could not be revived. There are many people now who are shouting loudly, who said, why don't you forget that party cannot be rebuilt? But we said that we believe that the NDC had the capacity to be rebuilt. And we worked on it, and we built it, and we got 6 votes short of elections in 2003. Remember, we moved from 0 seats in 1999 to 6 votes short of an election victory in 2003. I think at that point, Byron, many of the persons who abandoned the party started to see that the party was still viable. So by the time we got to the elections of 2008 and beyond, there were many people who had abandoned the party, who were part of the confusion of the party in 1999, because remember, NDC had, was fraught with confusion in 1999, one of the reasons for his defeat. The same people who had abandoned the party in 1999 after defeat, after creating immense confusion in the party then, came back into the party after 2008. And of course, they're causing confusion again. A friend of mine said maybe NDC has confusion in its DNA. But I believe it is because, they say failure is an orphan, but success has many fathers. It means that the persons who abandoned it in 1999 came back after 2008 and started to claim ownership. So you hear them now saying, well, we invited Peter to join, we brought them in, and so
that's root cause, Peter?
That's part of the root cause. I think there are several root causes, but that is certainly part of the root cause. Fundamental cause that people now started to brand me a communist. How is it that when I came in 2000, my political background is well known. I have never shied away from the fact that I was a captain in the People's Revolutionary Army, that I was a Deputy Secretary of Information in the People's Revolutionary Government, and I held these positions for several years. How is it that these issues are now coming up when they did not come up when I joined the party in 2000? The same kind of propaganda that was used against me by the NNP at the time, accusing us of being communists, is now being used against me by persons who say they are founding members of the NDC. Amazing. So I think really what it is again, success having many parents. So everybody is claiming the reason for the success, but I think it really has to do with persons who are, what I believe, desirous of getting back into the lofty positions that they were in and want to move people like myself aside.
It's been said, and I certainly this is on the street. I certainly picked this up. That part of the problem, Peter, had to do with your perception that Tillman Thomas as a leader was weak, and you perceived that you couldn't work with him or he had to be removed.
Well, that's absolute nonsense, and people who would peddle that kind of garbage know better than that. I worked with Tillman Thomas from 2000 to 2008 and beyond. We all knew that Tillman Thomas had weaknesses as a leader. All leaders have weaknesses. All followers have weaknesses. All of us, for the grace of God, have weaknesses. But I think what happened was that the people who were unable to wield the power before the elections now came and surrounded the Prime Minister. And I think there are a lot of things that were put in the Prime Minister's head, attempts to create division. I think there are people now surrounding the Prime Minister whose sole purpose in life seems to be to create confusion. There are some of them. Once they join an organization, that organization splits in two. And that is what happened. Tillman, I have said to the Prime Minister, there is no instance where anybody there can say that Peter David has done anything to threaten the Prime Minister's
In the
position.
campaign, 2008, you were on stage, on the platform, saying that this leader, Tillman Thomas, is the person most appropriate at this point in the development of Grenada to lead Grenada. You still stand by this position?
But I think what happened after 2008 is that certain things began to happen after that.
But you still stand by that position?
I believe that we have a problem with the way this country is being governed at the moment. I said that before, and I say it now. I think, for example, that the Prime Minister needs to surround himself with people who will give him advice as to really, Byron, I sometimes wonder where these people, the advisors to the Prime Minister, are actually residing. I mean, here we are. Schools are facing problems, workers are facing problems. There are so many problems in the country. But yet the advice is that everything is fine. I think there is a lot wrong that we need to correct. So, no, I have grown to see things that I did not see then. And that is human. And I believe as a result of that, we need to have some kind of fundamental change in this country.
You've been accused of playing the spoiler's role, and that role is for the imminent return of the NNP. What's your reaction to this?
I say to people, democracy is a wonderful thing. People are going to go to the polls again, regardless if we put it off for a week, a month, a year. People must go back to the polls. And people are going to vote on the basis of where they believe their best interest lies. So people are going to look at their lives and say, am I better off now? Or was I better off then? I think if the LDC wants to win the elections, it's a simple thing, Byron. You have to show the people that you have the plan and that you executed the plan. Now, if the people believe that you did not do what they mandated you to do, if the people elected you for jobs, they elected you for education, they elected you for health care, when they look at your record, because you know what an election is, Byron, it's like an exam. You take your report card to the people and you say, here's what I did. If you did what you say you were going to do, that the people elected you to do, you are going to win. If you don't, then you are going to lose. So it is not a matter of talking about a spoil and who's paving the way. People are going to vote based on where they think their interest lies.
Not based on
not based on me. I mean, I won't be featured except in the turn of say judge. So for example, the businessman, how is the businessman going to vote? The businessman is going to look at his numbers and he's going to say, my business is doing well, thanks to the NDC. The young people are going to say, I'm getting jobs, I'm getting scholarships, thanks to the NDC.
We have to take a break, but when we come back, Peter, I want to really explore the performance, the NDC. Let's look at the 4 years. We want to take some reflection. Viewers, please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Browse faster and smarter with Flow's broadband service. Broadband service. Enhance your learning and go back to school with Flow's broadband service. Sign up today and receive free installation. Plus, get entered into a draw for a chance to win a brand new laptop and great school supplies. So browse faster for less when you go back to school with Flow broadband. For more information, call 800-FLOW. That is 800-3569 or visit www.discoverflow.co. Special terms and conditions apply. Flow. Watch. Talk. Click.
Southern Waste Limited offers professional septic tank clearance at unbeatable prices. At Southern Waste Limited, you dump it, we pump it, and we also disinfect it. Located in River Road, St. George's next to Steve's Auto, Southern Waste Limited for professional septic tank clearance. Also available, portable toilets, garbage collection, and garbage bins. Call us today, 435-DIRT. That is 435-3478. Southern Waste Limited. You dump it, we pump it.
It doesn't matter how many times you've failed. It doesn't matter how much you've heard it can't be done. It doesn't matter how long you've been waiting or asking. No matter what, we believe in smiling again and never giving up. Never give up. Vitamalt takes care of you.
Pure, Clean. Refreshing. A-Tang. Premium purified water. Produced by the Grenada Bottling Company.
Welcome back, viewers. We're here with Honorable Peter David, MP for the town of St. George. Let me take the opportunity to welcome our viewers in Trinidad and those on the internet. And we're, of course, looking at the future, political future of you, sir. You are a senior member of the NDC. In fact, for the past 10 years, thereabout, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been the general secretary of the party. When your party won a majority last election, you were appointed as a senior government minister. In fact, Minister of Tourism, Minister of Foreign Affairs, among others. Civil aviation. You had a strong mandate from the people. And now you face a point where your party is very divided. Your government is struggling to survive its full term. What went wrong? I mean, what has happened?
Well, you know, I think, Byron, that I said in a speech in 2009 in the first party convention after the victory at the polls that we've come too far to lose the vision so soon. I said that in 2009 because I felt that we were not focused on the issues concerning people. You see, as politicians, sometimes we focus on what we believe is the right thing to do. But certainly as persons who represent people, as persons who are leaders of a country, we have to be focused on what the people want. For example, I remember very early in 2009, I had a discussion with a senior member of this government. And I said, listen, people are having problems with respect to jobs. And the response I got was that jobs were not everything. That what was more important was ensuring that we clean up the country, meaning in terms of corruption and all of that. And I said, while we do that, we must provide what the people want, which are jobs, because without a job, you cannot send your kids to school, you cannot pay a mortgage, you cannot buy food and things like that. So I think very early that we lost focus on what the mandate we had and what people expected of us. And I think we you know, for example, and I got plenty licks for this, I said we were focusing too much on the NNP. People had already decided the fate of the NNP in 2008. In 2008, people decided that they wanted the NDC rather than the NNP. Let us forget that. Let us focus on what we need to do so that at the end of the 4-5 years, we can say to our people, we have fulfilled their mandate. Because as I said before we broke, when we go back to the polls in under a year, some people say in months, we would have to say to the people, this is what we did. We are not running against the NNP anymore. We are running on our own record. We have to say, this is what we did. People already decided on the NNP in 2008 July. Now, what are you going to do? And if people find that we have not delivered on the mandate they gave us, then people may very well go to the NNP or to the PLM or to the PLP. People have choices, and that is the point we must recognize.
Also,
people have choices.
The point I'm coming at, Peter, is that you were part at the senior level of this regime.
Absolutely.
In other words, so do you personally take responsibility?
If you read my speech,
for
absolutely, Byron. If you read my speech properly, last Thursday in St. George's, I said I was a member of this government, and I take part responsibility.
How do we forgive you? How do we vote for you?
I'm not asking for forgiveness.
What are you asking for? What are you asking for? Well, you're admitting that it didn't go very well.
The people of the town of St. George know my record. They know my record for trying to help. They know my record on what I achieved in the town of St. George. I look back at what I have achieved over these last 4 years as Minister for Foreign Affairs, several things, the maritime boundaries with Trinidad, negotiating with Morocco, and several things in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In the Ministry of Tourism, I achieved quite a bit. As MP for the town of St. George, I have the market, the canteen. So what I'm saying is this, man, that there are things that I have done that I'm absolutely proud of. But I'm saying this further, that if we had pursued the path that some of us had recommended, which was a path that we believe could have led to more jobs, that could have led to more sustained growth, I am sure that we would have gotten further. I believe, for example, in foreign policy, I mean, I was removed from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but I believe if we had pursued a much more progressive foreign policy, and there are instances that I do not want to speak of now, but if we had not pursued certain things and pursued the kind of progressive foreign policy that I think we should have, I think we'd be in a better position.
With foreign policy, why have you left the Caracas embassy without an ambassador, for example? You were the
absolutely no. I was not the foreign minister at the time when that was done. You have to get your facts straight. That when I was foreign minister, we had an ambassador in Caracas. We don't have an ambassador at the moment.
We don't have an ambassador here now.
We don't. Well, the ambassador here, that's a matter for Caracas, and that is the point I'm making. These are the kinds of signals. You know, I appointed Georgie McLeish to the position of ambassador in Caracas. When Georgie McLeish left Caracas, it was left without an embassy. I believe that was a mistake. But other things I would do.
But let's look at your resignation from the government. Of course, hindsight is 20/20 always. But some pundits believe that resigning then was wrong because you removed yourself from the decision-making level of the government. I mean,
Byron, you know, of course, you know, as I said to you earlier, you know, in every given day, I receive advice from about 10 people. There's some people who would argue with you on that. Some people would say that I should have resigned before. In fact, there are people who would say I should have resigned a year earlier. So I understand that there would be people who believe that I should have done, should have not done, should have been in government. I took a decision at the time that I believe, based on my own conscience, as it were, based on what I believe.
Did you consult with your constituents?
Of course, I consulted my constituents on that. And if you look at the meeting we had last week, the constituency has overwhelmingly endorsed me.
So let's look at that town hall meeting. You know, I read a report, and the report ended like this. One report I read, it says, MP David, ended with applause from the crowd overflowing into the streets. And at this and you're saying this now, at this defining moment in the history of this nation, we must have defining politics. We have to tear down the old playbooks and create a new path. How satisfied were you with this town hall meeting?
Absolutely satisfied. You know, I was overwhelmed by not only the attendance, because I mean we had a full hall, and we had it overflowing into the street. Some people say 400, some people say 500 people. That is huge for a simple town hall.
I read one report that said there was a lot of NNP persons there.
I didn't really poll the people to see who they were voting for. If there was a poll, then I'd love to see it.
Okay,
but I will tell you that I welcome the fact that there were people of all political persuasions in the crowd, because as I said in the same speech, while I campaigned under the banner of NDC, I represent under the colorless banner of unity. As MP for the town of St. George, Byron, I am expected to represent all of the people of the town of St. George. When you're elected as an MP, you're not expected to be the NDC MP. You're expected to be the MP. And the fact that there would have been a lot of NMP people there, I would love that. The fact that there were a lot of NDC people there, I love that. I saw people from the GULP, I saw people from the PULP, I saw people from the PLM. I believe it was a good meeting, not only because of the numbers, but because of the kind of enthusiasm with which my
speech was. Let's examine some of the things you said, particularly in the economy. You said, and I quote, "Our country is at the edge of a fiscal cliff. The economy is tottering on the brink of collapse. While the global economic problems made things bad, we have made it worse by bad economic policies and unlighted politics that's a throwback but to gone by days." These are very strong statements. On the edge of a fiscal cliff. If what you say about the economy is a fact, they didn't happen overnight. You were part of it.
Absolutely. And I took responsibility in that same speech. If you look at the earlier part of the speech, I said that I was part of the government and I take full responsibility for whatever actions I took that led to this. But I'm saying this, Byron, that is where we are. If you doubt it, ask the public servants who received salaries late for 2 months in the last few months.
And I go on, besides you saying it's a bleak picture, you said it's 35% unemployment,
Absolutely.
38% of the people living in poverty,
Absolutely.
debt of 85% of GDP.
Absolutely.
You said the greatest challenge is job creation. You believe that foreign investment is the way to go for job creation.
Absolutely.
But MP David, there's a problem with this. Let me tell you why. Because we know that direct foreign investment has more or less dried up.
Why is that?
So why are you?
Why do you think it's been dried?
No, I'm asking a question here, MP. So let me ask.
If you don't
So
have
if
an
it's
answer,
drying up,
if
if it's drying up, why are you still putting your focus and emphasis on that, where every other country in the world, as far as I know, that depend on direct foreign investment, is having problems?
That's absolutely not true. That is dried up in every country. I think, no, absolutely, of course. Listen, Byron, nobody's arguing that there are not problems in the world.
Yeah.
You know, somebody came to me the other day and said, Greece and Portugal had problems, and so therefore we must understand. I said to the person, in Greece and Portugal, they also voted out their governments. That's also a parallel that we have to look at. It means, therefore, that we have to find creative solutions to our problems. I'm not suggesting, Byron, that any finance minister or any prime minister or any government could solve all of the problems of the country. But I think over the last 4 years, there were things that we did that we shouldn't do, and things that we could have done that we didn't do. For example, I believe we should have had a much more positive approach to foreign direct investment. I believe, and I said this in cabinet, and I say it to you now, because you see, Byron, there are many things that we would have fought for in cabinet that would not be public knowledge at the moment. But I do believe, for example, our approach to foreign investment was not one that seemed attractive to the investors. As tourism minister and as foreign minister, I received several complaints from investors that the government was sending the wrong signal to foreign investors. I know, for example, that the government was not receptive to many of these foreign investors, and members of cabinet know that. I think we should have been more open to that, and I think we created what I believe was a bad investment climate. I think in our foreign policy, you spoke just now about the relations with Venezuela, but I think there were other countries that we should have been more aggressive in terms of seeking support and developing a relationship. We didn't do that. So over the last 4 years, I think there were a number of things. Of course, we faced with challenging times. I would not say that nothing good was done, but I'm saying that there are things that we should have done, and the focus of the speech was on the things we could have done that we didn't do.
But MTH, you talk about the job creation. I didn't hear you talk about. I didn't see any reflection of looking internal. For example, looking at our own internal resources and talking about the agricultural sector, great potential. I didn't hear you talking about the fact that banks now seem to be, and a previous guest talked about this, the fact the banks are now very conservative in their lending policies. They are not, and this is not conducive to the kind of development that we want to see, the job creation in particular.
So, one of the things I recommended when I gave my budget address several months ago, I recommended that we get a group of Grenadians together, Byron. Persons who understand the economy. Persons who are business persons who understand how business is run. And let's get together in some national discussion. I said it here and I repeat it all the time. We need to have a national discussion about the way forward. I saw, for example, Ponty Archibald the other night speaking on these issues, and I think persons like himself and persons like yourself in the agricultural sector should be brought together. You see, one of the things that I think we suffer from is a failure to involve people in the process of decision making. We speak about consultation, but really it's not consultation of in any deep sense. I think we need to set up a mechanism where persons from all political parties, from all sectors, we can sit and agree on a way forward. Of course, I agree with you on the ideas with respect to banking, with respect to agriculture, but these things must come out of a national discussion.
Again, on the economy, because the Minister of Finance was speaking a bit recently, and he acknowledged the gravity of the economic situation, and has asked us to look at where the country was 4 years ago. There is a need for patience. He says, in fact, the Prime Minister a couple of weeks ago said this is a slight or minor economic setback. He also said that this is not a time to fight, Minister of Finance, this is not a time for us to fight against each other. And in fact, I also heard the Prime Minister recent remarks, I think, on Channel 6, Community Channel, saying that when asked whether he was prepared to be on a platform with his colleagues like yourself, he said, yes, on condition that you, what was the word, on condition that you respect the core values of the party. Are you prepared to respect the core values of the party?
Let me say first of all, Brian, that can't be the same finance minister who went on a platform in Tivoli in St. Andrew and who went on a platform in Grove and lambasted his colleague members of the party. I mean, I was amazed. In fact, I was flabbergasted by the kind of attacks that came at some of us in the party by the Minister of Finance and some other persons on the platform. Calypsonians were brought on the platform in these two meetings to lambaste myself and other people. I do not think they have the moral authority to speak about working together, because they have done nothing but attack me over these last 4 years. You look at the newspaper. I mean, a newspaper that talks about teaching our kids, referring to me time and time again as a red nastiness. That is a headline that they used to describe me. And then they're talking about working together. No, with respect to the
It's not the time to fight together, to fight each other.
Of course, it's not a time to fight each other after they believe they punched me to the ground. So now I'm on the ground, so now not a time to fight. No, Byron, I think what has happened over the last week, nobody can complain, Byron, that I have attacked anyone in public over the last 4 years. In fact, to the contrary, all the complaints I get is that under all of the licks that I've been getting, I've not been speaking. Most people criticize me for not speaking over the last 4 years.
We have to take a break, MP. When we come back, I want to talk about the vote of no confidence and those issues going forward. So, viewers, please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Harmony. The complete balance of the senses. Sight. Sound. Smell. Touch. And taste. Create your state of harmony in no time at all with the Baron Gourmet Collection. Baron, we make food tasty.
Browse faster and smarter with Flow's broadband service. Broadband service. Enhance your learning and go back to school with Flow's broadband service. Sign up today and receive free installation. Plus, get entered into a draw for a chance to win a brand new laptop and great school supplies. So browse faster for less when you go back to school with Flow broadband. For more information, call 800-FLOW. That is 800-3569 or visit www.discoverflow.co. Special terms and conditions apply. Flow. Watch. Talk. Click.
Spice Basket presents Mystical Magic, a collage of illusions and tricks from some of the best magicians from the USA, featuring Roger Kwan and Broadway performer Andy Roberts, along with other spectacular performances from our very own performers. School's Matinee, Friday, September 28, 1 p.m. Two shows on Saturday, September 29, 3 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Tickets available at all Gittins pharmacies, Chopsticks, and Kelly's Hot Spot in Guelph. Children $15, adults $25. Bring out the entire family to experience the magical moments that will never be forgotten. 3 magical shows, Friday, September 28th and September 29th at the Spice Basket, home of Grenada's culture.
Superior one-on-one customer service. Phenomenal products customized to your individual style and need. Fast and efficient service are all attributes that have made St. Louis the leading manufacturers of windows and doors for over 30 years in St. Lucia. And we are now pleased to extend our services to you. Try our new single-hung windows, which can be tilted for easy cleaning. Our famous casement windows, which locks with keys for added security. Our gliders, projected aluminum and heavy sliding windows, sliding and commercial doors, commercial shop fronts, and more. Visit us today, building number 19 Frequente Industrial Park, St. George's, or call us at 439-6538.
Welcome back, viewers. You decide. Viewers, please, we're going to go to the lines now, but please keep your comments and questions to the point. Good evening, caller.
Mr. Campbell, you hearing me clearly?
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
You know, I'm listening to Mr. Campbell and I'm saying to myself, what a pity educated people keep on destroying themselves over and over and destroying the country. They destroy Gary, they destroy their leader, and the question is, do they want to destroy Tillman Thomas now? Oh, Lord. Anyway, what I want to say to Mr. David, I hear he talk about Jerome invited him, but let me into the party. But let me tell you something, Mr. David, you all could not form a party because you all was meeting in Alamanda Hotel, and you all couldn't form a party, and you all came in, and against the odds, Maureen Emanuel and other people and the rank and file did not want you all, and it's Tillman Thomas that forgave you all, even though you all torture him, and he asked the people to forgive you all and accept you all, and he gave you all a second chance. He that gave you a political future, right? And that tongue of St. George, Maureen, Margot, Coffee, all of these people, when you came into the party, built the foundation that you was able to take over. You didn't have to say, here is it. You didn't have to say, where is it. It was already built for you, or for other people work. So the bottom, and you're always claiming that you this and that. But the party lost election in 1999, and it was not decimated. The party in 2002 held a convention. They elected Tillman Thomas, and the party was had functions normal.
Please line up your comment, caller, please. Thank you, caller. We have another caller online. Good evening, caller. Go ahead, caller. Good evening.
Good night.
Good night. Go ahead.
And good night to Mr. Campbell.
Good night.
And good night to Mr. David. Mr. Campbell, I said it before and I will say it again. Yourself and Mr. David, I hope that you all are not brothers and playing a trick on us.
Well,
because you very resemble, and I hope it's not two brothers that are playing a trick on us. Secondly, Mr. David, you have Mr. David, you have, to me, you have bad down your wicket.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that frankly, you have bad down your wicket because you had a chance. What you're saying now is what you saw in reality long before. And you had a chance of pulling that government down or getting rid of the government to do a better job, which you allowed to let pass when you were in parliament, when you were when the vote of no confidence came. Because you saw and knew that the government was not performing as is expected, and you allowed them to continue there by voting against the no confidence. And you, in my opinion, you have what you're seeing now, you have lost it. But I want you to tell us in honesty. You have said that you are going to continue to be the candidate for the tongue of St. George. I want you to tell us in honesty because you leave us in limbo. Are you a candidate or would you be running under the ticket of the NDC? You have us in limbo at this time. You must tell us no, whether or not you will be contesting the next election as a member of the NDC.
Thank you very much, caller. Clear.
Thank you. Thank you. And I do appreciate your honest assessment of my position in the last no confidence motion. Of course, I think I explained when the last no confidence motion came up what my position was. And of course, reasonable people can disagree on my position. You know, in politics, you make a decision and you make the decision based on what you believe is the best position at the time. And I appreciate your position. I disagree with you. I believe that I took the right decision at the time, but I appreciate your criticism there. With respect to going forward, as I said on several radio programs last week, my running for the NDC is an issue that has to be looked at in the context of what has been said by the political leader and several other persons in the NDC. It has become clear to me, and it has become clear to us for a while, that the political leader, while he says that he's prepared to go with us, he puts a caveat and says, once you subscribe to these core values that he has always said that we are violating. When I listen to the deputy political leader's speech in Tivoli and in Grove, it is clear that the current leadership of the NDC is on a path, I believe, in a different direction to where I see this country should go. So that is a matter that I have to deal with respect to where the NDC is. Now, with respect to how I plan to go forward, that is a matter that I said, caller, I said in the speech and I said in questions following the speech, that it is a matter that will be subject of discussion in the town of St. George. I will make a decision, and it will make a decision quite very soon. But it is a matter that we are currently discussing in the town.
So what are the options? I mean, the options.
Well, there are several options.
The NDC remains, yes, as one.
That is an option.
Independent.
That is an option.
Or is it possible to have another party?
That is also an option. Are you
considering forming another party?
That is also an option that is on the table. When I went around the country over the last couple of days, there are people who are saying, why don't you form your own party?
So you're giving that consideration?
Every option is on the table.
Fine. We have another caller online. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This question is for the Honorable Minister. And I think the nation is anticipating it's a pointed question, and I think the nation would appreciate a very straightforward answer. And I think it's probably one of the most important questions that could be answered right now. Will you be supporting the vote of no confidence against the Honorable Tillman Thomas? And when that time arrives? Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Well, first of all, the caller speaks about a vote of no confidence against the Honorable Tillman Thomas. Well, let me put the caller straight, and again, it is a matter that I discussed last week. I have not seen motion of no confidence. The motion of no confidence has not been made public and has not been sent to the members of parliament. How can one claim to support something that one has not seen? So, first of all, I do not know the contents of the motion. I need to see the contents of the motion. What I can say tonight is that I believe that Parliament must debate these motions. I believe, for example, that we need to get a Parliament sitting so we can have a debate. But that debate must, the basis of the debate, at least with respect to the no confidence motion, will be based on the confidence on the content of the motion.
David, look, this motion has been everywhere. This is the
Which
second time the motion
that is not true, Byron.
MP Hood. I have a copy of it. How come you don't? Look, the motion. Let me tell you what the motion speaks about. The motion speaks about if the NDC government failed in its promise to implement programs in the economy and social development, dismal management of the economy, gross inability to pursue policy initiatives for investments, lack of public and business sector confidence. 2012
so does not speak to the Prime Minister.
It talks about leadership. PM encouraging total division and strife within the government. By the MP's own admission, there is this here. But so it's clearly very much there. But the question,
but it is not a motion.
It
is not a motion, Byron, as the caller said, against the leadership.
No, it's focused on the government because fundamentally the motion calls for the dissolution of Parliament and the calling of new elections.
It's based on the economy.
Yes,
but we as parliamentarians, parliamentarians have not been served with copies of the motion from
but I'm telling you what it is about now.
No, you tell me about the document that you have. I'm saying, let me say quite straight, Byron, that when this motion comes to Parliament, when we as parliamentarians see this motion, I expect us to have a very heated debate, and based on that debate, we will vote our conscience at that time.
You said in your town hall meeting that school is open, everybody's gone back, Parliament needs to go back. Fine. So clearly this motion has been filed by the Clerk of Parliament. The MP, I understand, Hood, is circulating because the rules of Parliament provides for a majority of parliamentarians
as for 8
persons. I'm to understand that MP Hood is circulating a resolution, circulating a document, petition. Would you sign that petition if it comes to you? Because he needs 8 persons.
My understanding of the rules is that a petition does not necessarily have to be circulated. If 8 members of the House ask for a sitting of the House, then the Speaker of the House will have to call a sitting. Now, the rules does not say how long he has to call it, nor does it give a specific.
Are you willing to go so far as to command that
you're not waiting for an answer?
Okay, I'll wait.
I am saying that I believe, as I said in the town hall meeting, I believe that our Parliament should sit, not only because of the motion, but because that is what we elected to do. We elected to sit in Parliament and discuss the people's business. For example, I heard the Minister of Finance on the radio this morning speaking about raising monies. That needs to come to Parliament. So, I am saying that our Parliament needs to sit. If I believe that our Parliament is being unduly delayed in sitting that I am not being allowed as a member of parliament to sit in parliament and do the people's business, certainly I will call for a sitting.
You don't believe
that
has happened?
I believe we're getting. I said in my speech, and you just quoted it, that we are getting there now.
When do you
Byron,
what time would you give? What time would you give? Okay.
Hold a second.
Yeah.
After August, we normally sit sometime toward the end of September. That is by norm.
Yeah.
I expect that the government would, by the end of this month or in the next week or so, indicate when Parliament would be sitting. Of course, when the government does not indicate that it is prepared to sit, then we as MPs, and I do not believe it should be 8, I think all of the 15 MPs should urge the Parliament to sit. Why, Byron? When we were elected, we are not elected as government ministers. We are elected as members of Parliament. If we believe in democracy, if we believe and subscribe to the Westminster that we say we subscribe to, then we have a duty to sit. I am therefore saying that if by the end of this month, in fact, if within the next week or so, we do not see an indication from the Parliament that they are going to sit, then I think we have not only a right, but an obligation to ask for Parliament to sit. But that does not indicate what our position will be on the motion, because the Parliament is not sitting only for the motion.
Are you inclined to allow the government to complete its term?
If I'm inclined,
yes, because you're aware that the government has.
In our Westminster democracy, the government term is completed when the Prime Minister calls election. We do not have a system like the American system where you have a fixed term of 4 years. You have a system where the government can call elections anytime between the first and the last day of the 5-year term. The decision as to whether or not the government will go out, live out its term is a decision for one man, the Prime Minister.
We go to the line. Good evening, caller. Good evening, caller. Go ahead, please.
Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead, please, caller.
Yes. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. David and Mr. Byron Campbell. As far as I recognize, that this government have to be a packet of crackers. It broke up and it's still breaking up. The bottom line is, I am saying to Minister David, and I know you, Byron, happen to be some sort of supporter of the then administration we call NDC. I am saying to you all that I do believe that the motion of no confidence should go through. Minister David should go ahead with it. The same issue that you're discussing about signing the document, Minister David should sign it and call this thing off. Everybody head hot, pressure on the line. Let's just blow this thing up and start afresh by any means necessary. This is my contribution, sir.
Thank you very much, caller.
The caller makes an interesting point. I said in the speech, I think what the caller is saying reflects the view of several persons out there, Byron, that we have spent an inordinate amount of time fighting among each other within the government. We have spent an inordinate amount of wasting an inordinate amount of time on issues that does not matter. When you go to the schools and you see the amount of kids who can't afford to get their school uniforms, when you go to the communities and you see the amount of people who can't pay their electricity bill, who can't pay their water bill, when you go to the communities and you see how many people remain unemployed, then what this caller is saying reflects the view of several persons, that we should go back to the people for a mandate. Because what is happening, as the popular saying goes, nothing happening. And what the caller is saying seems to me to be reflecting more and more among people, that not that they're supporting the motion or not supporting the motion, or supporting the government or not supporting the government, but they're saying, listen, we seem to be wasting time. We seem to be like we're stuck in the mud, just sticking. I hear it in the town of St. George. I hear it all the time in the town of St. George, that we need to go back to the people. We need to say to the people, we need a mandate. We need to say to the people, this is our economic plan, this is our record, this is where we want to go, and let the people decide on the way forward.
We go to the lines. Good evening, caller. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening, Barry.
Good evening.
Good evening, Peter.
Good afternoon. Good evening, sir.
Now, I just want to respond to the caller earlier on, the lady. And in fact, that lady should get her facts right. In fact, the host of all these these programs should put her straight. Now, I've been a member of the National Democratic Congress from the inception. I've held very senior positions. She has not ever held a position in all her lifetime. She should say how much fund she has raised for the party and how much organizing she has done. And I remember that when Peter David and others came into the party, it was Peter David that reorganized. The party was decimated, was finished. We didn't focus, we didn't have any way to go. And she spoke about Maureen Emmanuel. I'm just saying here now that how many times has Maureen Emmanuel left St. George's and come to Guava or Grenville or Sotes? How many times that Minister Buck has done that, or even the Prime Minister at that time? It was Peter David that came and reorganized the entire party at any time of the night, in any kind of conditions. And I think he should be given credit for that. So the nation should know that it wasn't others, the old heads, that did that. It was a new beginning, right? It was 21st century politics, and it will always be, if NDC cannot face up to 21st century politics, that's the end of it.
Thank you very much, caller. That's all the time we have. We have another caller online. Good evening, caller.
Hello.
Go ahead, please, caller.
Yes, good day.
Good day. Good night.
To you and Mr. David, huh?
Yes.
After listening to Mr. David over the past month, I think that Mr. David thinks that he is a leader. That's what I'm getting after listening to him. So what I think he should do, as I said, he has three options. I think he should form his own party. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller. Good advice?
Good advice. I have to put on it too. You know, as I said to you, Barrett, in any given day, I receive 100 pieces of advice. So I listen to everyone.
Look, the convention, end of the month. Do you plan to attend the convention?
Well, then, as General Secretary of the party, I have an obligation to give a report to the convention. And in that regard, I must be present to give the report. I can give a written report, but certainly I'd love to be present to give the report. So yes, I expect to be there. If I'm not there and unable to be there, then I can always submit a written report. But my final act as General Secretary would be to give a report on what has taken place.
Because you indicated that you informed the Prime Minister.
Well, yes.
But the point I want to ask just before we go to a break, Peter, and think about it. The fact that you have informed the Prime Minister that you would not be vying for any contesting any executive position at the convention. Is this an acceptance of defeat on your part in terms of the two sides that have been battling, so to quote unquote, for the NDC? For the NDC? But don't answer the question now, Mr. David. We'll go to break. We'll be right back. Viewers, please stay with us.
Insurance is a promise to pay. At Beacon, we keep our promises.
Love the land you live on. The land is simply awesome and majestic. It feeds, clothes, and shelters us. The land protects us from the Hurricane Ivans of the world. Provides clear crystal waters 24/7. Could you imagine life without the land? I want you to ask yourself this question. Why sadly around the world and in Grenada, lands are slowly dying, slowly dying. With our bad practices every day, my land, your land disappearing, is disappearing. It's what we call land degradation. It show up as soil erosion, coastal and loss of vegetation. That's how we degrade this Spice Island. With landslides, slippage and dying mangrove, to name a few. So here's what I want y'all to do. No one wins from land degradation. The power is in your hands to stop it today. Begin sustainable land management and love the land you live on.
Sudden Waste Limited offers professional septic tank clearance at unbeatable prices. At Sudden Waste Limited, you dump it, we pump it, and we also disinfect it. Located in River St. George's next to Steve's Auto, Sudden Waste Limited for professional septic tank clearance. Also available, portable toilets, garbage collection and garbage bins. Call us today, 435-DIRT. That is 435-3478. Sudden Waste Limited. You dump it, we pump it.
Browse faster and smarter with Flow's broadband service. Broadband service. Enhance your learning and go back to school with Flow's broadband service. Sign up today and receive free installation. Plus, get entered into a draw for a chance to win a brand new laptop and great school supplies. So browse faster for less when you go back to school with Flow broadband. For more information, call 800-FLOW. That is 800-3569 or visit www.discoverflow.co. Special terms and conditions apply. Flow, watch, talk, click.
Pure, clean, refreshing. A-Tang, premium purified water. Produced by the Grenada Bottling Company.
Welcome back, viewers. Peter, before the break, I said, look, the fact you notify the Prime Minister that you won't be contesting any of the executive position. And the point I'm making is that an acknowledgement of defeat, because we understood there was a struggle, there was a contest for the executive, for the brand of the NDC. That was a perception. And the fact that you seem to have withdrawn and said, look...
But when we went to the last convention, the Prime Minister put up what some people call a slate. There was a discussion about moving forward. There was an election. Immediately following the last convention elections, a Minister of Government, a senator, indicated to me that despite the fact that he had lost in that elections at the convention, he was going to use state power in order to get what they wanted. Over the last year, around 6 or 7 persons lost their jobs. Persons who were on the executive. I speak about Senator Ali Gill, about Joe Gilbert, about Devon Romain in St. Andrews, Assistant General Secretary, Assistant General Secretary Valon Paul, Deputy PRO Ralph Lord. All of these people who are on the executive, duly elected, simply because they were seen to be friends of mine, lost their jobs with the government.
I understood that has to do because a policy of the party is that let me finish. A policy of the party is that if you're on the executive, you cannot hold a government contract.
Nonsense. Valon Paul was fired. But Valon Paul was fired because they said that he was not performing. Ali Gill was fired from the Senate. Joe Gilbert was. The point I'm making now. Let me finish making the point. The point I'm making is, as a result of their victory in the last convention, this did not cause the other persons in the executive or the leadership to accept the democratic decision. It was our view, and it is our view now, that no matter what the result of the convention is, this confusion will continue. Therefore, in my view, and in the view of some of us, it is best that we step aside. It is best that we allow the party to settle down, to go into an elections with the team that the
But it is because you know that you're going to lose?
Absolutely not, Byron. We have the capacity. If you look at our history over the last 10 years in the NDC, no group of persons have the capacity to mobilize.
So you're withdrawing because
we withdraw because we believe that going into an elections, we do not want to be held responsible for the confusion in the party. Because if you listen to people are saying, listen, all of them, Peter, all of them are the ones causing the confusion. So what have we done? That is why I don't understand why people like the first caller keep complaining. They wanted me to leave the government, I left. They wanted me to leave executive positions, I left. So now that I've left, I expect persons like the first caller to just keep off.
It's generally felt that you have a bosom relationship with the NNP, the leader of the opposition in particular. Bosom, that's how it's called.
Well, it's
because from
bosom,
time
it's
to time, but is that an option for you in terms of joining the NNP?
I have not been approached by anybody in the NNP.
No, you, not that you've approached.
I have not.
Sorry, just hold your mic up. Yeah.
I have not gone in that direction. Of course not. But I'm saying this, that I have good relations with persons in the NNP, in the NDC, in the PLM, in the PULP, Winty Frederick, of the PULPs are good friend of mine. The point I'm making is we cannot continue to tribalize the society. I am a member of the NDC still, but all options, Byron, and I repeat, all options as to the way forward for us are on the table.
But when we do the numbers, when we do the maths, Peter, particularly in the nature of the NDC right now, I mean, understood that you won St. George seat by about 10%, 10%, 297 votes. You won the St. George seat. Yeah. That's not a huge margin.
But in the context of the St. George's, in terms of the size of the constituency, it is a huge margin because it's a small constituency.
But you won by 10%.
Yes, absolutely.
Just on the 10%.
10% is not a
but it's not a huge margin. And if the NDC is divided, where does that leave you?
If the NDC is divided,
what does that leave?
Well, no, I mean, going forward, we have to look at the numbers, we have to look at what capacity we have, we have to look at all of the options. I believe that I have done enough in the town of St. George, that I have a sufficiently strong relationship with the people of the town of St. George to win the seat. Whether or not the NDC is divided, whether or not I run in some other way, I believe that I have a huge possibility, a high possibility of winning that
MP David, that's all the time we have. We want to thank you very much for being here with us this evening. You have to come. Our viewers, that's all the time we have. Thanks for being with us. Have a good evening. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.